motorcycle robbers who come face to face with police officers. 4 perish in Kilifi road crash.
Hatukupata watu wa kwetu. Mtumishi wa serikali si mtumishi wa kujitumikia, ni mtumishi wa watu wote regardless of which tribe.
Stop wrangling about presidential appointments, Moi tells leaders. And shock in Migori as teenage girl is killed and buried in a maize farm.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to our first weekend bulletin this 2014. It is the 4th of January. Good evening and many thanks for joining us tonight. And just like we did last year, again this year, we will continue to be joined by our sign language interpreters. William Silla is with me tonight to make sure that even the deaf can hear our bulletins right here on KTN, first on Kenyan television. Right, let's get into our top stories tonight. And we start off with matters of crime. Residents of Jerusalem in Nairobi County say it was poetic justice for suspected members of a motorcycle gang who met police at the very wrong time. Witnesses say the suspects on motorcycles tried to rob a motorist at the very moment a police vehicle was driving by. Wilkis Tanyabo reports.
A crowd gathered at a little shopping center in Nairobi. 2 men had been shot dead in Jerusalem estate, both believed to have been part of a motorcycle gang that went round the city, terrorizing individuals and robbing them of valuables, then speeding off to share the spoils. The 2 men were riding on a motorcycle when they were intercepted by police officers. It is reported that the suspects had tried to carjack a motorist at the shopping center before they were mowed down by police officers. The 2 were reportedly part of a gang of 4, 2 of whom escaped with gunshot wounds. Police recovered a homemade gun and 2 rounds of ammunition. Across town, 4 other suspected gangsters were shot dead and household goods recovered after an attempted robbery. The suspects had allegedly executed a robbery and were headed to Pangani when police officers who had been trailing them opened fire near the Pangani police station.
The criminals that we have been able to see here broke into a house in Kino and stole household goods there. Then they took away the vehicle of the owner and carried away the goods. So as they were coming, the owner of the vehicle, the owner of the home who was not in the home, got that information. And then she rang the police. The police followed up the information and verified it that it was true, and then followed the tags. Immediately they shot at our officers, and our officers responded in the manner that you are able to see, and unfortunately all the 4 were fatally injured.
The bodies of all 6 suspects were moved to the mortuary after the incidents. The motorcycle was taken to the Jogoo Road police station. Police have launched a manhunt for the 2 suspects who escaped on foot. Cases of robberies executed by gangsters on motorcycles are on the rise, and the motorcycle gangs are known to operate along Thika Road, Jogoo Road and Mombasa Road. Wilkisanyabo, KTN.
A section of members of parliament from Marsabit County have once again accused their governor of causing discord and abusing his powers in the region. The leaders now want the national government to take action against the governor. The governor said recently that those criticizing him are politicizing the sensitive matter of security in the conflict-prone region.
Leaders from Upper Northeastern met today to raise concerns against Marsabit governor, asking the national government to institute legal proceedings against him. The governor has been accused of being the problem in the vast county, with claims that there has been massive exodus of residents from the area to Ethiopia as refugees.
The police commandant is at the mercy of the governor. And these are the people we are saying take care of the populace. So if the governor says This way you don't go. This is how you work. Then be it. This is the current situation we are referring to.
The security in Marsabit County should be brought under control. This is just a lull before a storm. The financials of this conflict must be brought to book.
The leaders maintain that there are no structures in law to monitor governors who abuse powers and are asking Parliament to consider the issue before the next elections.
A governor who becomes reckless in his management can easily exterminate a community. That is the danger we are facing in Moyale, for example. We have put a government, there are no checks. The man says, or the person says he's like a mini president. He's smaller Uhuru Kenyatta, and he's unfitted powers.
They allege that a section of businessmen they did not name have been giving funds for the buying of weapons to destabilize the conflict-ridden region.
People are raising money here in Nairobi to buy arms, and in the next, I think, few months, things might go bad.
But the Marsabit governor, Ukur Yatani, had already dismissed such claims a few weeks ago, stating categorically that those perpetrating the accusations are individuals out to sabotage his government. He denied allegations that he is not working to restore calm in the region. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Now, on that same story, we have just received a new statement. We've spoken to the Marsabit Governor Ukur Yatani just a few minutes ago, and he says even as the MPs from Marsabit were giving their press conference in Nairobi, another attack was being carried out in Hoda village, about 3 kilometers from Moyale town. The governor says 4 people were killed in that attack that took place just hours ago, and several camels shot dead. Governor Yatani says he is worried at the coincidence where the MPs gave the press conference at the very moment the attacks were happening. He now wants police to investigate the connection between the press conference held by the MPs in Nairobi, which we have just shown you, and the attack in Moyale. We will continue to update you on this story as it unfolds. Let's move on now. Former President Daniel Arap Moi has asked politicians to stop wrangling over presidential appointments and focus instead on strengthening a unified Kenya. Moi made the remarks in Tinderet, Nandi County, during the burial of Kanu politician and businessman Ezekiel Baringetunyi. Leaders present, including Deputy President William Ruto, urged the youth to emulate the late Baringetunyi, whom they said was neither selfish nor tribal, but served all without discrimination.
Deputy President William Ruto led other leaders that included former President Daniel Moi to the home of the late Kano politician Ezekiel Baringetunyi at Delkotet in Tinderet, Nandi County, for the burial ceremony. Leaders present eulogized and celebrated the life and times of the late Baringetunyi, who was a staunch Kano politician.
Baringetunyi alikuwa mtu wa kusema kweli. Wezi kupeleka kitu na kwenda aende aseme uongo, na lazima vijana waige yale aliyokuwa akifanya.
Mzee Baringetunyi was loyal to his friend President Daniel Arap Moi. He was a committed Kenyan and a progressive leader. Mzee Moi ambaye alituongoza taifa hii na mzee Baringetunyi, tumejifunza mambo mengi ya uongozi, na hatuna aibu yeyote kusimama na kusema hawa ni watu ambao walikuwa kielelezo kwetu. They are truly our political mentors.
He says and he did things and would disagree with you on matters of principle.
Niko kwa siasa sababu ya yeye kunifundisha, and that's why I'm a good politician.
Daniel Moi advised politicians to stop wrangling over presidential appointments. President Uhuru Kenyatta has come under criticism over his latest government appointments, with critics saying some appointees were not worth the position on account of age, gender and regional balance.
Sipoendesha kaunti sawa sawa, ndio itakuwa msingi wa ukabila yenyewe. Mimi nasoma magazeti ya kila siku. Kila moja anasema hatu kuandikwa fulani. Hiyo neno. Hatu kupata watu wa kwetu. Mtumishi wa serikali si mtumishi wa kujitumikia, ni mtumishi wa watu wote regardless of which tribe. Itakuwa location fulani. Location hiyo inakwisha andika watu wengi. Location fulani haikupata. Mtang'ang'ana hapo chini hata mtaona nje.
When we point out issues to our government, we are not destroying the government, we are actually helping the government. And we are also Jubilee.
Wacha si tuchukue kazi ile nzito hii ya kukimbia na siasa, wacha hao wafanye hii yenye wanakutana once in four times in a year. Wacha hao wafanye hiyo, David President. Hatutapinga.
The late Barngetunyi died aged 92 years. He was blessed with 10 children and has left behind grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Still on matters of sharing the national cake, a section of TNA-allied MPs have come out to defend the Jubilee coalition against criticism on how it is handling its affairs. The MPs dismissed criticism by disgruntled members of the Jubilee coalition, saying President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto are steering the government in the right direction.
Nikauliza tena, mbona wakati tulipiga debe, wakati tuliomba kura, tukasema itakuwa ni 50-50, 50-50. Wakati tumepigiwa debe, sasa kuna sehemu nyingine ya Kenya wanaandika wenzao, huku kwetu wanakaa bila kuandikwa.
Nandi MP Alfred Keter has been on a warpath calling for fair and balanced allocation of appointments to government between the National Alliance Party TNA and the United Republican Party URP. His bone of contention, however, does not stop at the appointments. He claims that the Jubilee coalition is giving a free hand to corrupt state officers to have a field day. He is also on record saying that the Nairobi-Mombasa standard gauge railway project is inflated.
If other countries in the world, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Asian tigers, and countries in Europe are building 1 kilometer of a railway using $2 million, why are we proposing to use $6 million per kilometer in Kenya? What is different?
While his remarks have gained him popularity among many Kenyans, his colleagues in parliament are now telling him to drop his pet subject, criticizing the government.
The biggest political blunder you can ever make is to stand in front of your leader and point your finger at him as you are talking. That was the blunder that Honorable Keter made.
Other quarters have also claimed that Keter is being fronted by individuals who bankroll the coalition and have since fallen out with its leaders. But in his defense, Keter has held that his mission is fueled by the desire for good governance.
If Keter has a problem, and I want to tell you the people of Nakuru, sisi tuko na government digital. Our president is digital, our deputy president is digital. Hakuna mjumbe hata mmoja amewahi kufungiwa nje na rais na katibu wake. Milango yao wamefungua. So akiwa mimi nimekasirika na rais wetu, mimi tu naenda namwambia hapa kuna shida. Lakini maneno atunajaza vijana kwa uwanja, unawalipa pesa. Unawalipa vijana kule pesa, wanakuja wanasimamia president hapa. Hey, garedio kunyane kuonio nilio.
Speaking at a funeral in Nakuru County, the MPs also defended recent appointments made by the government that have triggered more wrangling within the Jubilee coalition.
Wajumbe wengine na watu wengine wanaanza kuzunguka kuikashifu serikali, wakianza kusema ate president ameappoint wazee. Jameni, Waswahili walisema palipo na wazee hapaharibiki.
But even these leaders admitted that there is something they would have wished for in the appointments made by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Tunaomba rais kwa uteuzi zote ambao wamefanya, lakini tunataka kusema kama vijana, lazima vijana, kwa sababu vijana ni kiungo kubwa sana kwa nchi hii, wapatio CEOs na directors kwa hii serikali.
Joseph Bonyo, KTN Weekend Prime.
New York.
Strawberry flavored pot. That should be interesting. Anyway, let's come back to the country and move to matters of insecurity. Police in Gilgil have recovered assorted Kenya Defence Force uniforms and gear from a suspect said to be behind a number of armed robberies in the town. The officers also recovered a pistol and 15 rounds of ammunition from the suspect's house in one of the town's estates after a tip-off from members of the public.
Since October last year, police in Gilgil have been searching for the suspect behind the robbery of one pistol that had been stolen from the Gilgil Deputy OCPD's house. In the period, the pistol had been used to rob and shoot 2 members of the public, who included a senior government officer. It was until an anonymous tip from a member of the public that the police were led into the home of a 25-year-old man in Site Estate.
Tulipata habari kutoka kwa mtu ambaye wamekuwa wakiongea na mshukiwa, ndio aliweza kutuelekeza, tukaenda kwa nyumba yake, tukaweza kupata hizi vitu.
Upon searching the suspect's house, the police were in shock over the items they found. Among them, 15 rounds of ammunition, Kenya Defence Forces gears from jackets, boots, daggers, trench jackets and other pairs of uniform from the National Youth Service. During the incident, the officers managed to recover electronic items like TV, laptops and radios from the suspect. What was more astonishing is that the suspect had a photo of himself in Kenya Defence Force attires. The police say the suspect will be arraigned in court facing various charges. However, investigations are still ongoing to establish how he acquired all the items. Ian Ofula, KTN.
Now, police have launched investigations to try and identify a teenage girl found murdered and buried in a maize farm in Kanga village, Migori County. The body was found by the villagers who had gone to harvest their crop in the farm and saw some fingers protruding out of the ground. Police were called in to exhume the body using sticks after the villagers allegedly refused to give out their tools for the exercise. According to the area residents, the body had severe injuries around the neck, a possible indication that the girl was stabbed using sharp objects. Her hands were bound behind around her waist.
Ilikuwa asubuhi kitu kama saa 3:30 hivi. Tulikuwa tunachuna mahindi kwa shamba letu. Kwa ghafla tukafika mahali tukapata kama kitu imechimbwa hapo, lakini hatukujua ni kitu gani. Vile tulisonga karibu, tulipata kama ilikuwa inaonekana kama ni mwili ya mtu.
Then we had to go to the court days an affidavit for permission to be given for the exemption of the body.
We don't need such a thing to happen in this county, and we request the security personnel to be on the alert to make sure that this barbaric act does not happen again.
Very sad state of affairs there. We want to take a short break right now on KTN Weekend Prime. But don't go anywhere. We have lots more coming up for you after the short break.
Young men in Nyeri making money from what others have thrown away.
Ukabila ni adui ya maendeleo. Angalieni yale yanayofanyika katika Southern Sudan. Nilijaribu kuwasaidia, lakini kitu wanataka ni mimi. Nataka kiti changu, nataka kuwa rais, nataka kuwa nini. Mpaka watu wanauawa, sasa 1,000 wamekufa. Na ulikuwa unatafuta uongozi, si uongozi wa kufanya watu kufa. Na kwa hivyo lazima kuzungumza lugha ya kuleta amani.
Thank you for staying with us on KTN Weekend Prime. Welcome back. Now, if you're one of those who uses meat and cow hides and quickly throws away the horns, a group of young people in Nyeri are out to show you that you are literally throwing away money. They have found a way of earning a living through collecting cow horns from slaughterhouses and turning them into useful items. Carol Derry has that story.
The word cow for many is synonymous with the delicacy nyama choma and the like that has many a Kenyan taste buds tingling. But a group of young people in Nyeri are scrambling for a part of the animal that is considered a reject and one that many people do not pay attention to: cow horns. Gitito Jubilee Youth Self-Help Group that comprises 17 members have seemingly struck gold where others would rather not venture. This after days of earning peanuts doing odd jobs that would hardly sustain their needs. Jonah Musa, the group's founder, says many thought he had lost his mind when he was spotted scavenging through wastes in slaughterhouses in Nyeri.
Beleni walikuwa nafikiria nimelikuwa na kishwa. Lakini kwa sasa wanaona kuna vitu zenye tuna make na hizo pembe.
The horns are used to make earrings, necklaces and other ornaments, but first they have to be thoroughly cleaned with water and a bleaching agent to whiten them. The cleaning is also useful just in case the animal might have had a communicable disease that might otherwise be transmitted to humans.
Kama ni pembe tukishaokota, tunakuja tunasafisha, tukishamaliza kutengeneza product zetu, tukikata tunaweka na ile shape tunataka, baadaye tunasisuku kwa jik.
Kwa hivyo vijana wasikae ovyo kwa sababu kazi ni mingi. Ujihusishe na jambo fulani ila itakuigiza faida.
They are then dried and chiseled to the desired shape. Painting is then done and voila, the ornaments are ready. A pair of earrings fetches about 30 shillings and a necklace goes for about 50. And did you know that the powder that is collected from the shaping and the carving of the horns is useful too? Dog owners make a beeline to the group's stand along the Nyeri Mokoroni Road to purchase the powder that is then fed to dogs. A little powder in the dog's ugali fools the canine that there is some meat in the food. A clever trick for those who cannot afford meat daily for their pets.
Inatengeneza ikiwa kwa ugali, inakula sawa ikiwa complete meal yenye protein, calcium pamoja na carbohydrates.
The youth began their business sometime last year and are hopeful that the market for cow horn ornaments will steadily increase.
Hata hii kama hii ni pembe ya ng'ombe, haiwezi katika, haiwezi haribika hata ukiweka wapi. Itakuwa mzuri. Na wengine wanakweza kuwa wana support hii job yetu.
Well, there you have it. Now you know that cows are not just useful for the beef, the milk and probably the hide. The horns themselves are useful too, just as the Gitito Youth Self-Help Group have discovered and making a livelihood for themselves. Carol Derry for KTN in Nyeri.
Now, in the olden days, the ornaments worn by members of the Masai community conveyed different messages. The most important was one of unity. However, recently, a section of youth have begun to shy away from the practice of ear piercing in a bid to fit in with their age mates from other communities. Wilkis Tanyabwa is here with the story of Masai ear piercing.
When dressing for a big day among the Masai community, the outfit is not complete until one throws on a pair of big dangling earrings. And it's not just the women who are going out of their way with colorful beaded ornaments.
Hakuna ati utafauti zaidi, labda tu mafasi kama hizi vitu tunaitanga monai. Ya mama inakuanga kubwa, lakini ya wanaume ni kidogo.
Among the Masai, pierced ears are more the norm than the exception. Boys and girls pierce their ears in their youth.
Tulikuwa tunajiringa nayo, ukiwa umetobolewa masikio, iliyobaki sasa ni kwenda kutayarishwa. Ukienda ukifika wakati ya kutayarishwa, hiyo tuseme ni step ya kwanza ya kuonyesha wewe umekuwa.
But times are changing, and among the youth, many a bare ear can be spotted. The practice of ear piercing is slowly fading away. Youth are shying away from the practice that a section associate with illiteracy.
Ni ngumu sana kupata mtu amesoma ambaye atakuwa ametobolewa masikio. Labda mtu awe ametobolewa masikio na arudi kwenda kusoma baada ya kuwa ameenda kuwa mrani, baada ya kumaliza warani wakaenda shule. Hao ndio unaona wale wasomi wote unaona wametobolewa masikio na wanaongea Kiingereza ni wale wamerudi shule baada ya kumaliza kuwa mrani.
Further, the youth resist the ornaments as they struggle to fit in with their peers from other communities who do not sport the telltale piercing. It is a tale of the elderly and the young, the old and the new, battling to find their place in a world that is changing. But today, at least, most of those gathered here wear the ornaments, hoping that in time, this will be the string that binds them together. Wilkis Tanyabwa, KTN.
Still on matters culture, members of the Tugen community at Salawa village in Baringo County came out in large numbers yesterday to take part in reviving what used to be their annual Tugen Cultural Festival. The ceremony seeks to reunite the community members living in the urban centers and was organized by Baringo County Senate and women representative officers. The colorful event was marked by cultural music and dance competitions and drew participants, both young and old, dressed in their traditional regalia and ornaments. It was also an opportunity for long-lost friends to establish contacts once again. The event is now expected to take place every year.
Kila jamii dunia yote, hakuna jamii mimi najua ambaye haina culture yake. Kitu cha pili, sheria yetu ya constitution hii yenye tuko nayo imesema kwamba culture ya watu lazima iheshimiwe na hata iinuliwe iende juu.
Mimi mkianzisha kitu kama hivi hapa ama culture, maybe every week tunakuja ndoka hapa, wale watalii wanaopita hapa hawatapita, watasimama kwanza, si ndio? Watasimama hapa, wananunua vitu, wanaangalia vile mna dance na mnapata pesa. Kwa hivyo hii utalii, hii mambo ya culture tunaona leo vile vile itasaidia nyinyi kwa kupatia riziki.
And the Swahilis have a saying for that, mwachamila ni mtumwa. It is indeed something that not only the Tugen should be doing, but indeed all other communities across the country. Maybe that's a good start to the year and a good example to others to do the same as well. Right, on that note, we want to take another short commercial break, but we have a lot more lined up for you, so please stay with us.
Does your name have a meaning? And would you consider changing your name?
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime.
Welcome back to KTN Weekend Prime. Let's now have a reminder of our top story for you tonight. Residents of Jerusalem in Nairobi County say it was poetic justice for suspected members of a motorcycle gang who met police at a very wrong time, or should we say the right time. Witnesses say the suspects on motorcycles tried to rob a motorist at the very moment a police vehicle was driving by. Two of the suspects were shot dead as others escaped. Motorcycle gangs have become a menace in Nairobi in recent weeks, robbing people at gunpoint and grabbing handbags from women in the streets. Now, over 10 legislators from Ukambani region have attributed the runaway carnage on Kenyan roads to laxity in the Transport Ministry and Traffic Department. The lawmakers have urged the government to reintroduce and enforce the famous Mishuki rules.
The members of parliament from Lower Eastern spoke during the burial of Philip Mutua Kisoi, who was a brother to and driver of Mboni MP Michael Kisoi. The late Kisoi died on Christmas Eve at Mtito Andei in a road accident involving Horizon Bus and Spring Bus along the Mombasa-Nairobi highway. Latest road accident statistics from the Traffic Police Department indicate that 3,191 people perished on the Kenyan roads last year, an increase of 2% when compared to 2012. The police records show that the number of fatal road accidents reduced by 3% last year when compared to the same period in 2012. Lawmakers say statistics on road accidents are alarming and accuse traffic and transport officers of sleeping on the job.
Mishuki rules irudishwe, hiyo ndio itaokoa. Na hiko sheria iko lakini haifuatwi.
This is not a casual problem. It does not require a casual undress. It requires serious thinking. So the government, unless it is bankrupt of new ideas, must lead the way to solve this problem once and for all.
Ukiangalia statistics za National Transport Authority ile ilitoa juzi, inasema watu mbele ya 3,000 wamepoteza maisha kwa barabara hii mwaka peke yake. Hiyo ni kumaanisha ni kama kwa siku sisi upoteza watu karibu 10 ama juu ya 10 kwa barabara. Sio jambo la kupendeza.
It has come to the high time that the traffic department starts signing performance contracts.
With hundreds of passengers reported stranded in various up-country destinations and the coast due to the ban on night travel that was slapped on PSV operators late last year, Matungulu lawmaker Stephen Mule says the ban on night travel will only cause more traffic jams and nip in the bud the dream for a 24-hour working economy.
Banning of public transport at night is not a solution. The solution is very simple. The national government need to give very clear directives to the county governments to make sure that Mishuki rules zinafuatwa mpaka kwa baiskeli. Wakifunga barabara usiku, na hii ni digital government, wanarudi analog. Kwa sababu tunaua ile tunaita 24-hour economy. Sisi watu wa Ukambani na wale barabara kuu ya Mombasa inapitia, kuna watoto wetu wameandikwa pale Mtito wa Ndei, wameandikwa Kinyambu, wameandikwa Kambu, na walikuwa wanategemea hiyo mabasi inatembea usiku, wamekosa kazi.
Patrick Amimo, KTN.
And still on road accidents, 4 others lost their lives along the Lamu-Malindi road earlier today. And the injured were rushed to the Malindi County Hospital and are still undergoing treatment. Remember to stay safe on our roads at this time. Let's cross borders now to the fighting in South Sudan. Now, should there be no agenda drafted, South Sudan's hope of an early ceasefire could be deferred. The negotiators meeting in Ethiopia have been unable to agree on what issues should be top on the agenda of the talks. KTN's Joy Doreen Bira has more.
Ukabila ni adui ya maendeleo. Angalieni yale yanayofanyika katika Southern Sudan. Nilijaribu kuwasaidia, lakini kitu wanataka ni mimi. Nataka kiti changu, nataka kuwa rais, nataka kuwa nini. Mpaka watu wanauawa, sasa 1,000 wamekufa.
Until an agenda is drafted and agreed upon by negotiators from both sides, peace talks between warring parties in South Sudan remain in limbo. Negotiating sides meeting in Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa have further strained hopes of a ceasefire, citing the absence of reason that will precede face-to-face talks between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar. Yet while IGAD's efforts to commence talks are delayed, clashes between government forces and armed rebel groups are turning into an escalated ethnic war. South Sudan's military chief says as long as there is no ceasefire, killings are set to continue.
We don't have yet a ceasefire. And we don't want them to come and get us somewhere here. So we have to go together.
The rebel leader had shown the people the tribal way. He went away and mobilized one tribe against the nation. So if the other tribe mobilize in the tribal way, then this country is going to break apart.
United Nations reports of mass grave discoveries in the town of Bentiu, Unity State in the north of South Sudan say ethnic killings are rising in what could turn out to be the biggest humanitarian crisis for the world's newest and youngest nation.
You can understand the difficulty of thousands of people coming into a facility which has not been set up for that.
From the South Sudan government side, negotiators say President Salva Kiir has ruled out any power-sharing agreement, while Machar's negotiators maintain that if Salva Kiir maintains a no-conditions approach, the talks are likely not to begin, not tomorrow or the day after. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN.
I want to take you back to that story of road carnage. We'd made a brief mention of it, of the accident that took place in Malindi. 4 people died when the public service minivan they were traveling in hit a road construction worker along the Lamu-Malindi road. Those who were injured were rushed to Malindi County Hospital and are still undergoing treatment. Here now are the details.
The accident occurred at Marereni area, about 40 kilometers from Malindi town.
Mimi kusema kweli sikuwahi kuiona kwa sababu kichwa alikuwa nimekiweka namna hii kwenye kiti navuta usingizi. Nikishtuka gari imefly juu kwa juu. Mimi nikijishtukia damu zanitoka katika mkono, wale wanawake walioko juu na watoto wadogo wamenangukia. Sasa mimi kutapilia kwanza kuiokoelea roho yangu ile Allah badai Allah, sasa nikawa najiinua kwa sababu najiona nafahamu.
The bus headed to Mombasa from Lamu hit a road worker who was apparently erecting a speed bump along the Lamu-Malindi road. As the driver lost control of the vehicle, another pedestrian was hit. Both died on the spot. The bus then veered off the road and overturned, killing a third person. A fourth victim was pronounced dead upon arrival at the Malindi County Hospital.
Ilikuwa ni bumps, manake dereva alikuwa yuko speed kidogo yani. Akashtukia zile bumps pale. Manake palikuwa na bumps imekuwa ghafla. Sasa kuna ile bumps akakosa control kidogo akaingia ile matatu ndo akapata kuanguka.
The road worker was actually a volunteer, a local resident who was concerned about the increase of fatal accidents along this road. Residents have been asking the Kilifi County government to erect speed bumps along the road, but the county government is yet to respond to their plea. Those who sustained injuries during the accident are still receiving medical attention at the Malindi County Hospital. Catherine Amwando, KTN.
We want to take a short break, but we just want to update you with news just coming into our news desk at the moment. There has been an explosion in Eastleigh area right here in the capital city of Nairobi. The explosion took place on 8th Street in Eastleigh. One person has been injured and has been rushed to the nearest hospital. Now, the explosion is believed to have come from a polythene bag that was left behind by someone after buying cigarettes. Once again, details coming into our newsrooms this evening is that there has been an explosion in Eastleigh along 8th Street. One person injured so far and taken to hospital for treatment. The explosion is said to have originated from a polythene bag that was left behind by someone after buying cigarettes. We'll continue to update you with this situation as we get more details of that explosion that has just taken place in Eastleigh right here in Nairobi County. So far, one person injured and rushed to the nearest hospital. Do stay with KTN for more details on this. For now, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to KTN Weekend Prime. Before we get into the sports news tonight, more details coming out of the breaking news we gave you just before the break. There's been an explosion in Eastleigh along 8th Street, and the explosive device is believed to have been in a polythene bag that was left behind by a customer after buying cigarettes at a shop. One person has been injured and rushed to hospital. The shopkeeper is said to be traumatized but not injured, and he is said to be going to be okay. Let's just give you those details again. Explosion in Eastleigh along 8th Street. It happened outside a shop, was in a polythene bag by someone who bought cigarettes at the shop and left the polythene bag behind. It then exploded, injuring one person so far as we know, and that person has been rushed to hospital. The shopkeeper or the shop attendant of the shop where the explosion took place is said to be traumatized but not injured and hopefully will be okay. We'll be giving you details of this explosion as we get them, so do stay with us. Let's go into sports news now. Now, Eldoret is known for producing Kenya's kings and queens of athletics, but one thing seems not to be right, as the Kipchoge Stadium in the town has been turned to a maize drying field, with farmers using it on a daily basis as the local leaders watch, yet our sportsmen and women lack proper training grounds.
As you ply the 10 route from Eldoret, this is what you come across. Maize being dried outside the Kipchoge Stadium, a sports facility that is supposed to be used for nurturing and perfecting champions. Trucks come from different parts of Uasin Gishu County with sacks of wheat and maize, which are dried here. To the locals, they feel there is nothing wrong with drying the maize here, since the stadium has lost its meaningful purpose of being used for sports.
Tuko na uwanja, tuoni maana yake. Wengine wachenga uwanja huko. Tumekaa hapa kwa muda, wanasema watu wanatengeneza. Tutujua kwa nini. Ndipo sasa tunaona afadhali tutumie kwa mahindi kuanika, ndio tunaona vile iko mahindi na mahindi.
While our sportsmen are suffering and having to go for many kilometers away in search of training grounds, others are making a kill as they sell full stuff to those who come to dry their maize here.
Wenye wanaanika mahindi na wenye kuleta matajiri yote pamoja na matajiri yao wote ndio tunawalisha hapa na chakula.
It is in the same vein that noble citizens such as Lorna Kiplagat opted to help the community by building a modern training sports facility in Iten, which stakeholders feel the government should take advantage of.
My part in putting up the track, and then I hope they can respect their words and do their part, and then we are partners. Then life can continue and the athletes can enjoy the facility.
Ningefanya tu waitengeneze at least, yani ikuwe mzuri sana, ikuwe yani modern stadium.
For now, this is the current state of the once famous Kipchoge Stadium, which is a total contrast of the athletics dominance exemplified worldwide by athletes from this region. Victor Ogale, KTN Sport.
Now, are you comfortable with your name, and do you as parents ever find yourselves regretting having given a particular name to your child? In our news ender tonight, KTN's Najma Ismail takes a look at some of the unique names found in Kenya and what the owners of the names feel about them.
The power of a name and its value has long been celebrated in style, poetry, and religious ceremony. Everyone recognizes himself or others by name. And does a name really influence a person's character?
Urongo. Mimi sijasikia athari ya jina. Kama unaitwa jina vibani, kumuita punda, ukamuita mbuzi, ukamuita kuku. Lakini majina ya ukoo hayana shida.
Lakini sio kusema kwa sababu anaitwa Kenya atakuwa na kunywa.
Several communities in Kenya have different meanings for their names, and one must choose very carefully what they call their children, since it will affect how people view them in future.
Kihara, ukiona hiyo jina Kihara, mahali kuna hiyo Kihara, kuna mtu hapa nywele hana nywele ya kutosha, ana nywele nusu. Lakini ukimwangalia katika biashara zake kama kuendelea, yeye unamkuta yeye ameendelea kibiashara. Maana Kihara ni jina lilikuwa la watu matajiri.
Unaweza kusikia msichana anaitwa Hamida. Ni mtu ni jina ambalo linafungamana na kumshukuru kwamba amemshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu. Unaona?
Shida, which translates roughly meaning problems, Mapenzi meaning love, Sifa meaning reputation or fame, and Zawadi meaning gift are common names among the coastal people. Apart from naming children from events, characters, or occasions, many choose to give names of ancestors, aunts, or uncles.
Pengine pengine shangazi yangu mimi, labda anaitwa Mariam, Sasa ili isipotee ile jina la au kumbukumbu ya yule shangazi yangu, basi unakuja unampatia mtoto wako.
Other parents might choose to name their children after heroes and celebrities. One of William Shakespeare's most famous quotes is from the play Romeo and Juliet, saying, and I quote, "A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet," end of quote. So would you change your name if you realize that it meant something shameful? And more importantly, do you think your character would change if you changed your name? Najma Ismail, KTN.